I would like them to be entertained. First and foremost, it is entertainment. I would love them to be moved. As with my performances in film and TV, it is the only... I fell in love with film and TV because I was so moved by the script, by the cinematography, by the entire ensemble that comes together to move a human being and stir something really deep inside you that even if you don't know what it is, it's so prolific that it stays with you for days, and it sort of shapes your view of who you want to be and how you want to conduct who you want to be. So I hope to connect to people and move them with the stories of these characters and everything they have to go through. I hope that they're relatable and I hope that they're believable. But I also hope to use the book, I guess, in a more metaphorical way as a mirror to hold up to ourselves, because there's rape, there's violence, there's abuse of children, abuse of animals, there's love, there's betrayal, there's sibling rivalries, there's family dynamics that are heartbreaking. And then there are humans that would walk through hell for the person that they love. Endure anything over and over again for eternity for that person. And we're still at war. So what, are we going to do anything about it, or how are you going to conduct yourself so that we're different?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I have a guest with me who is an author, an actor, who has a cat, who has a dog, too, apparently, the next door. I love it. I love it.
Worst dog ever.
See, right? It's like, we just talked about this. As soon as you hit record, all of the pets are like, hey, we're on camera. So welcome to the podcast. We have so many guests, animals joining us today. I have my dogs and cat locked up, and they're terribly upset with me at the moment. Alicia's here with me today. Ellie, as we like to call her. Ellie
Hello.
is an actor, an author. Oh my gosh, she is someone who doesn't like the heat, but we're going to turn up the heat today on the podcast. Welcome, Ellie. How are you?
Fair enough. Hi, I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
I am wonderful. I'm sorry about the heat. We broke the
fault.
thermostat. I don't know what to do. We've called for tech to come and cool the temperatures. It's really warm where you are. Tell everybody where you are today.
I'm in Vancouver. I'm in East Van, and there is not an inkling of a breeze outside, and going through a heat wave. There's a heat warning. We've been told, like, check on your elderly, check on your pets, keep everyone inside. Like, yeah, they're discouraging people to go to the beach without like one of those sun protector pop-up tents. Wow. And like, go to the beach if you're gonna swim type of deal. Yeah. I'm like, oh God.
Oh Lord. Okay, so Ellie has this amazing background, everyone. So I've already had a chance to meet Ellie. So we're like old friends, but Ellie has history and connections with Greece, but also, as you can tell by maybe her accent, there's a little bit more to Ellie. Can you explain a little bit? Give us some background about your family and your past.
Sure. My family's originally from Greece. They're from a little island called Ithaki. Yes. There's like 3 different names for it, and I forget which one it's now named. Like the Greek people call it something different, and then they spell it something different to what comes up on Google Maps. Like, it's so bizarre, the Greek way of doing things. It's Ikaria is what it's now called. Okay. Ikaria, I believe it's sort of in the south-ish region, and it's in the blue zone. It's sort of like a fishing island, and not a lot of people. And they have these volcanic pools that people come from all over the world to, I guess, soak in to fix their ailments. So it does have like a history of a lot of spiritual, it has a spiritual past, because people would travel from the mainland, from the other islands, probably from Egypt as well, and definitely from Italy, to come and soak in these legendary spiritual pools. And back then they called them like the gods were responsible for that. But now we know it's minerals and volcanic heat and everything. So that's where I'm from. And I haven't made it there yet, but I plan to. And I've got a little bit of German in me from my grandmother. And my dad's got a little bit of, I think, Irish English.
Nice.
Yeah. And I grew up in Australia. And a lot of the Greek people, because it's a similar climate, the Greek people were offered, or anyone really, were offered plots of land for free in Australia if they came to what's the word, boost the agriculture, if they came to like work the land themselves. Like it's just barren land, but you can have this much land and it will be yours. So a lot of Greek families moved over. Yeah.
That's
in
amazing.
the southwest.
So primarily your entire life growing up there then? Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think my mum's dad moved there from Greece, I believe.
Okay.
So my mum's been back and forth so often, and I've only been once.
Have you seen a kangaroo? I'm interested.
Yes,
kangaroos seem to be kind of.
I've seen them.
They seem like jerks sometimes. I don't know if that's true.
Awful little creatures. They're vicious. They're malicious. They're full of fleas. They don't taste any good. They're useless. They're these useless creatures that I have no idea why they exist other than to just be a pest. I know they look cute and fluffy and everything, and I think that's only when you get sort of like the little joeys and you raise them at home, away from their sort of like pack, because then they don't have fleas and they're fed really well and they don't have vicious tendencies. But kangaroos are awful. So are koalas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not good party, like not to have good people to have it at a party. Then koalas, you shouldn't invite them. Nothing like that.
Not unless you've got a good bowl of drugs on the table and you keep sort of offering them to the koalas, because their eucalyptus leaves are kind of like, I guess, kind of like marijuana.
Really?
I would relate it to marijuana in terms of like they get
effects.
A sort of high, and it's kind of addictive, the eucalyptus. So that's what they eat, and if they don't eat any, they're just grumpy and vicious and like withdrawal from drugs. It's really interesting. And I think it's 85% of koalas have chlamydia in their eyes. So they're not cute. You don't want to touch them.
No.
Full of fleas, and they're mean.
So, okay, so you've escaped the koalas and kangaroos. Now you are in Vancouver. So tell me about jumping from there to Vancouver. How did you end up there?
Well, firstly, weather-wise, heaven.
Except for today.
For summer. Like I came here because I was promised it was cold and raining all the time, and I feel like I've been gypped. It's so hot right now, I'm dying. Yeah. I am a huge fan of Battlestar Galactica, the TV series, because it's just absolutely phenomenal. I can't say enough great things about the writing and the humanity in the script and everything that it reflects on us as humans. And one of the ladies who was in an actress, she was in a 2-part episode in Battlestar, and I was looking to, I guess, move somewhere to begin a film career. And I came across, someone told me, don't go to America because the visa, the work permit that you have to get is like, you have to pay for a visa as well, and it's super hard to get. And if you get the O1 or J visa or something, for America, you can't do anything else for work except acting. So if you don't book anything, you're kind of screwed. And then someone said, well, Canada's part of the Commonwealth. Why don't you go there? It's Hollywood North. And I had no idea where Canada was, what it was. So I was really walking in blind. I had no idea about Canada because we get most of our news, I guess, in Australia is just from trash mags.
Oh, really?
It's all like reality TV show from America. So we don't get a lot of Canadian anything. So I had no idea what Canada was or where it was. And I saw that that actress from Battlestar was teaching classes, a scene study in Canada, in Vancouver. And I thought, perfect, I'll go. And I booked my ticket.
So yeah, I remember talking to you earlier. You were saying growing up, your family had a vineyard, and that you would sneak time to watch television when your family was out of this house, but you could keep one eye on the road and you could see them coming, and you'd be like, oh, and you'd shut everything off and pretend you weren't watching television, but you were watching your idols. And then you had the chance to meet your idol. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that. Like, that's amazing.
It's pretty game changing. And obviously I didn't know too much about this particular actress because I was sort of clinging to, well, she's been in Battlestar. I'm seeing her in these scenes with all these main characters that I'm watching and idolizing. So that was sort of like the closest I could get to that. And I fixated on that, and that got me here. It was very interesting because I signed up for the beginners class, and I thought I'll start from the bottom and I will work my way up and I'll do it properly, and this will be my life. I'm dedicated. And I had done drama class already in Australia in high school. I think that was one of my main subjects. And I was doing short films throughout university. I was already writing because I did my script writing degree. And I was learning everything I could about film. I was watching the Actors Roundtable on YouTube, like just on repeat, soaking up all of this knowledge in pursuit of what could make me the best that I could possibly be in this field that I have been in love with for so long. So I arrived and I started the class, and there were about 5 of us in the beginners class, I think, and I gave this performance, which was a delivery of our monologue that we had to prepare for our first day of class so she could get an idea of what level we're at. And I did it once, and I ended up at her feet. Like, she's sitting in the front row, and I ended my monologue at her feet, looking up at her, like crushed about whatever it was that was happening. And I finished, and she said, so you're not supposed to be in the beginners class, right? When you did the scene study. And I was just like, okay. Had no idea what I was doing. I was just so passionate.
Nice.
Yeah. And so she was wonderful, and she was just such an integral part of my life in Canada for the next 9 months-ish. I did all my studies with her, graduated from that school under her scene study class, and she got me my first agent. It was pretty wild. And then I started meeting people from Battlestar sort of through her, and she had a guest come to the what's it called, the scene study, to come and do a talk for us, and he was in Battlestar, and I just lost my mind in the corner.
Such a fangirl moment, right? You're just like, oh my gosh, so I know everything about you.
Exactly. I'm just one of my favorite colors.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've done some acting as well now that you're here in Vancouver. So tell us a few things that you've done. Let people know where, like, obviously we're going to put links and everything to people can find you, but what's something that maybe somebody can find you in and be like, I know Ellie now?
I think I would probably start with the thing I'm most proud of. And that would be a feature film. It was an indie feature, which is what I've come to know is what I want to do forever, or television. It's an indie feature called The Grand Unified Theory, and it's honestly, it's one of those moments, and I'm sure everyone can relate to having a moment in whichever career they've chosen where you sort of like time slows down around you and you look around and you soak it all in and you get goosebumps, and you look at the other people around you while something else possibly very menial is happening, and you know that we're all thinking the same thing, and we're making something that really matters, something that's really important and beautiful. And to this day, the film hasn't aged. It strangely keeps popping up in my life, just on a regular basis. Even just the words that are used in it. The whole film is based around alchemy, and it is coming of age, but it's the coming of age of 4 different family members. A son, a daughter, a mum, and a dad, and they're trying to be the best family that they can be and take care of each other, but they're all dealing with their other stuff. And it is such a heartwarming film, and the characters and the performances are so wonderful. I cry every time I watch it, not when I'm on screen, obviously. I'm picking that apart in my mind. I'm like, ugh, you've done that better. But the words and the message in the film, the way the parents deal with their children in certain situations is such a breath of fresh air. And if we all dealt with our children in those situations in the same way that those parents did, the generation after us would be phenomenally intelligent and well-informed and the best intentions in their hearts. I think it had a lot of messages about what it's like to grow up, what it's like to fall in love, what it's like to grow old and sacrifice for your partner and their career, the dangers of the world. And these so many questions that come up just in humanity are sort of addressed, like, who am I? What am I doing with my life? Will I find someone? Where do I want to be? How do I make that happen? Who do I love? What does love mean to me? Have I wasted my life? Am I still in love with the person that I'm married to? It was all of this. There's something literally for every person,
Nice.
of every age, of every gender, and it is really incredible. It's the best thing I've ever been a part of, and I credit that to David Ray, who wrote the film as well as directed it.
Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit. So I go back to the story about you as a young girl watching television and seeing this actor, and then the chance to meet them, and that actor has a platform because of the show, and you idolize and look up to them, and they're an inspiration for you. You now are an actor. There are people who see your work who are now watching you on the screen and saying, wow, Ellie, there's something about her that I just connect with. I would love to have a moment with her. If that is the person listening to this podcast right now, Ellie, and they're looking to you now, as you did as you were younger, what would your message be to them as they look to you and they find inspiration in your work on the screen? What would you like to say to them?
Ooh. I'd love to say to them that don't give too much weight to anyone.
Okay.
I know that it would be mostly it'd be expected to give sort of an inspirational thing, and I don't want to say it's along the lines of don't meet your heroes. I want to say Hollywood is a screen, and it is smoke and mirrors. And what I've learned goes far beyond anything to do with Hollywood. What am I trying to say? I would say, if you can, come and meet me, and I will tell you exactly what I know. I'll tell you all that I know, but it just might not be what you would think. Because, and I'll give you an example of what I mean, because I don't know if I'm able to explain this. That's such an incredible and intricate question.
Yeah,
Which I had
set you up
hours
there.
to.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
it's, and I don't want to answer it incorrectly, but when I have students come into my class, I know that they are encountering about 23 other instructors at the school throughout their studies for scene study, audition, and then all of those classes have substitute teachers. So they're encountering all of these different wells of knowledge, experiences, ages, genders, TV show backgrounds, and styles of teaching, whatever they may subscribe to. And so in my classes, the first thing I tell my students is go to therapy. If you don't think there's anything wrong with you, that's great, but still go to therapy. Find out if there is something that you can work on. Find out how to look inward when you do have something happen to you so that you can process it, know what's right from wrong, and then hopefully not be damaged and radiate your trauma. Because life sounds horrible and nihilistic, but life is trauma in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And we do end up being the accumulation and the sum of all of our experiences. Yep. So when they come, I say, go to therapy. And I know what the other teachers are teaching them. But in my class, I'm very honest, extremely honest and open about my own personal experiences within the industry and outside of the industry. I tell the girls and the boys that come to me, beware of sexual predators. Like this world that we live in doesn't discriminate just based on industry, or if you're walking down the street, or if you're on set. And it is just such a huge part of being cautious as well as being encouraged to do what they're doing. God, that's such a long-winded way of trying to answer that question. It's such
I love that you have
question,
a heart. You have a heart for the people that are looking up to you.
Yes,
that's what I like. You aren't being smoke and mirrors right now. You're being real and saying, listen, it's not all what it looks like, right? Exactly. We're real people here. I'm Ellie. I'm a real person. Mm-hmm. I have good days. I have bad days. I have beautiful, nice, cool days. I have hot days where I'm just like, I'm annoyed. I'm a normal person. Exactly. I appreciate anyone that looks up to me. And if I can inspire you, that brings me joy. But just know that I'm a real person.
I could not have said that better myself.
Okay.
Thank you for saving me on that one.
I can hear it in your voice. Yeah, I can hear it in your voice. But I think when you're young and you idolize someone that you see or you want to be like, then you start to create a picture of what life might be like to be that person. And sometimes it's not always what you think it would be. Exactly.
And my personal experience of growing up in Australia and only having access to Woman's Day, OK magazine, like all of that is my view of, or was my view of the world. So when I came here, I don't want others who might look up to me and come to me first. I want to take that opportunity to grab them and be their first experience, to make sure that it's not my experience. Because it would break my heart to have, and I mean, not to go into it, but dreams were shattered and a lot of therapy was needed. Yeah. And the people that you see in magazines, like everything is so different. I've seen fame. I've seen it firsthand and what it does to people. And the type of people that the industry attracts are either the best human beings that I've ever met.
Yeah.
Or the worst. Kind of more often than not, they're the scum of the earth, like lower than the low.
Feed off of fame and people who are famous.
They feed off of other people's life energy. And it's not. It's full of the most darkness that you could imagine. And if I am to teach my students and send them off into the world, or if I am to meet fans who want to either enter the industry or meet other actors, I want to be able to be real with them, and just in any way arm them before they, just be careful. Don't put them on a pedestal. And I've met some of my idols, and a lot of life reevaluation was needed after that, because that's like, whoa, what? You're not anything like what I've seen on TV.
Yeah. So what I love now is, Ellie, through your acting and now your book, you have a platform now to speak and help others. So let's switch gears. Let's talk about the book, because that's another side of you that I'd love to kind of explore. Thank you for what you've shared so far. It's amazing.
No worries. And I do ramble.
No, and as people listening are like, if you want to have a real conversation with a real person, this is it right here. Ellie, tell us about the book, because when we talked earlier, you shared a little bit about writing the book and where you physically were in the world when you were writing, which I found, as a history buff, very exciting. But tell me about the title of the book, first of all, and then tell me a little bit about your author journey, because I want people to hear this as well.
Okay. Well, it is a trilogy, an epic trilogy of historical fiction called the Aegean series. Mm-hmm. And the first book that's just been released is called Snake of the Nile. And I'm on the cover. Those are real snakes. They were a joy to work with. The snakes are the real stars. I just dropped off a book, free copy, as a thank you to the lady who brought the snakes to set for us to shoot. Wow. I was like, how are the snakes doing? And she's like, yeah, they're good. And my journey was, I knew that my process has, we talk about processes, but for me, it's sort of just like a consciousness. If I'm conscious, there's about 7 different things going on in my mind at any one time. And I'll write things down and not really know why. And then I'll go back and find them later, and then they'll spark the idea again. And so I like to think that there are subconsciously stories happening inside of me. And I don't think it was a conscious decision to write a book. I think it decided it was happening. And I researched for 6 months because I seek knowledge and I love it. It's almost a hunger for it. I've got to consume knowledge, and even better when it's something I'm passionate about. Yeah. So I researched for exactly 6 months, and then I took off to Europe to meet a few girlfriends. We did Italy, and we ended in Greece. So I got to see Rome, which was really, really interesting. And those 2 girls they're sisters, and they're very spiritual as well, as am I. And we did like to go and sit on the ruins and put our bare hands, on the stone and sort of try to connect with where we were, which is difficult when there are so many people around, tourists and the modern world and everything. And the vibe of modern cities is very, it's high vibration. And you want to get down to a low vibration to sort of like hear the whispers of the secrets that those stones know. And so we ended with Greece, and then they flew home from Athens, and I took a bus, scariest bus ride ever. No one spoke English. I had no idea where I was going. I thought I was on the wrong bus. I was freaking out. I was like, where's my luggage? No idea. I got a bus down to Sunio, which is in southern Attica on the water, and it is absolutely gorgeous. And I ended up at this hotel. I got an upgrade, which was so lovely because no one was staying there except myself and some very rowdy Americans. And it had a private beach, and it just happened that when you look up to your left on this giant cliff, there are the remains of the Temple of Poseidon. And the temple is, I think they said, over 2,500 years old.
Yeah. And
just looking up at that, thinking, this is where the people that built this, their blood is in my blood.
Mm-hmm.
It was really, was really bizarre. And you can see below on the rocks below the cliff, there's bits of broken limestone and pillars that have fallen, tumbled off the hill, and it's this giant, I guess like a ruin, but it's still half erect, and it's the sun sets behind it over this beautiful ocean.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
It's just breathtaking. And I think I did just stare at it for most of the time I was there. And so I was there for 10 days by myself, and it was very much on purpose to read the last book from the series of my favorite author. And I started formulating the plan for what was happening in the first chapters of the book, and started meditating. And for most of the time there, I had my feet in the Aegean Sea. And I learned that there is no tide. The tide doesn't go in, it doesn't go out. And I think that's part of like being like on the hemispheric line where it is. It just doesn't. And the sun there is not like here, and it's not like in Australia. It's like a gentle kiss of warm air, and you just tan overnight. I was brown, and I thought, this is what my skin is genetically. It's how it's supposed to be. And so every time I go out in the sun here or Australia, I just burn to a crisp. But there was magic. I have no words for it. And I do hope that I can have a career that allows me to have a place there that I can go and reconnect, because it really was breathtaking.
That's great. So who is the audience for this book and trilogy?
I would say anyone over 2021. I think I hope men will like it. I hope men will enjoy it, because it is very violent, and well, not to say only men love violence and such, but it's very war heavy. It's strategy heavy. There are a lot of male characters. Hopefully I've written them in an okay way, because every time a man writes a female character, all the females in the world are like, what?
Wait a minute, yeah.
What?
No.
But it is definitely for women. There are a lot of feminist themes. There's a lot of female strength and what we can endure and overcome.
Okay.
And it is, I wouldn't say it's for children in any way, just because in the first book, at least, there's a very violent sexual assault scene.
Okay.
So I would say proceed with caution.
Okay.
It's not gratuitous, and it is there for a reason, and I tried my utmost to make it respectful.
So that's the audience. What's your hope for people as they investigate this and check out the trilogy? What do you want them to learn, come away with? What is your hope?
I would like them to be entertained.
Okay.
First and foremost, it is entertainment. I would love them to be moved. As with my performances in film and TV, it is the only. I fell in love with film and TV because I was so moved by the script, by the cinematography, by the entire ensemble that comes together to move a human being and stir something really deep inside you that even if you don't know what it is, it's so prolific that it stays with you for days, and it sort of shapes your view of who you want to be and how you want to conduct who you want to be. Mm-hmm. So I hope to connect to people and move them with the stories of these characters and everything they have to go through. I hope that they're relatable, and I hope that they're believable. But I also hope to use the book, I guess, in a more metaphorical way as a mirror to hold up to ourselves, because there's rape, there's violence, there's abuse of children, abuse of animals, there's love, there's betrayal, there's sibling rivalries, there's family dynamics that are heartbreaking. And then there are humans that would walk through hell for the person that they love, endure anything over and over again for eternity for that person. And we're still at war. There's still rape. There's still abuse of women. There's still abuse of animals, abuse of children every day. Mm-hmm. And I just want a mirror to show us, like, this is what was happening. This is accurate that this was happening. this thousands of years ago and we're still doing it now. So what are we going to do anything about it, or how are you going to conduct yourself so that we're different?
And that's a great reality to live in, that, you're putting the mirror up for people to see and then asking people, okay, so now what?
Exactly.
I love it. That's really great. So how do we find the book? How do we connect? We're going to be ending here in a minute. How do people connect with you? What do we do?
If you want to reach out, I'm at the stage where like no one knows who I am, so it's kind of good. If you want to connect with me personally, you can reach out on Instagram. It's Elysia J, or at Elysia J, ELYSHAJ. My book is on Amazon, I would say, is the best place to get it. Barnes & Noble. The ebook is on Indigo. And my website is Elysia or eajacksonauthor.com.
Beautiful. We'll make sure I have all the links and everything. Thank you so much for taking a very warm day and making it brighter for all of us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ellie.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Hey guys, thank you for listening to the podcast. Jump over to livingthenextchapter.com, our website, and you will see a spot where you can leave a voice message. We'd love to hear your feedback. We're trying to make it as easy as possible to hear from you. So if you want your voice on this podcast, yes, that's possible. Go to livingthenextchapter.com, click the little microphone icon, leave a voice message. We'll insert your message into the podcast. Tell us where you're listening from. Tell us your favorite guest. Maybe there's a guest we should have on the podcast. Maybe you should be our next guest. Leave us a message on livingthenextchapter.com. Again, thank you so much for listening. Please share this podcast episode with one person. That's all we're asking. Meet you over there at livingthenextchapter.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Love to hear from you. Till the next episode. It's coming up right away. Be sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you for being part of Living the Next Chapter. Thank you for supporting our guests. Have a great day.
Mindshift Power Podcast, the podcast for teenagers and those who work with them. There's a huge problem in America today. There's a very large disconnect between teenagers and the adults who work with them. I'm looking to bridge that gap with real, raw, honest conversation, not held back by the chains of political correctness. You cannot solve a problem you do not understand. Want to understand teenagers today? Listen to this podcast. This podcast is for teens in the U.S. and Canada. To learn more, go to fatimabay.com/podcast or just look for Mindshift Power Podcast on any listening platform. I look forward to you being a faithful listener.